She smiles, she laughs, she says all the right things, but underneath the performance, her emotions betray her. No matter how polished her mask is, no matter how carefully she plays the part, there are always cracks, tiny leaks, flashes of truth she can't control. And the man who moves without understanding this is a man who gets played again and again. See, women live through emotion. They thrive in the world of feelings, chaos, movement, uncertainty. But a Stoic man, a man of calm perception and internal control, he sees, not through words, not through promises, through the silent battlefield most men are blind to, where guilt flashes for a second before it's swallowed, where fear shivers under a laugh that's just a little too loud, where her body moves in contradiction to her words, revealing more than she could ever confess aloud. The truth is simple. She can hide her words. She can hide her intentions. But her emotions, she can never fully conceal. And the man who sees, truly sees, gains an unfair advantage. He no longer guesses. He no longer hopes. He no longer gets tangled in emotional illusions. He reads reality, calmly, coldly, correctly. And from that position of stillness, power bends toward him. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the 6 forbidden emotional leaks every woman tries to conceal, yet always fails. 6 truths that most men miss, but the Stoic few can recognize immediately. If you're ready to move beyond surface-level games, if you're ready to lead not just with strength, but with ruthless perception, stay locked in, because after this, you won't just hear what she says, you'll see what she tries desperately to hide. Number 1. Guilt always shows first. Of all the emotions a woman tries to hide, guilt is the first to slip through. It's fast, it's fleeting. But for the man who knows how to see, it's loud. See, guilt is heavier than any mask she can wear. It's rooted not just in thought, but in instinct. When a woman feels guilt, whether for her hidden feelings, her dishonesty, her internal conflict, it leaks out before her mind can catch it. You'll see it in a flash of tension around her mouth, in the tightening of her jaw when the conversation shifts toward truth, in the microsecond downward glance when she thinks you aren't looking. Most men miss it. They're too busy listening to what she's saying, chasing approval, trying to impress. But the Stoic man, he doesn't chase, he observes. He watches the battlefield most men can't even see. Guilt reveals itself when her words say one thing, but her body stiffens. When she smiles too quickly or laughs too sharply, trying to mask the unease rising inside her. It's not about interrogating her. It's not about punishing her. It's about seeing clearly without needing her permission to understand. When you can spot the flicker of guilt, you hold the power without ever lifting a finger. You no longer need her to confess. You already know. And knowledge to the Stoic man is power cloaked in silence. He does not react. He does not attack. He does not flinch. He simply sees and lets her emotion do all the work. But guilt is just the first crack in the mask. There's another force buried even deeper, one she fears more than anything else, the fear of being truly seen. And when that fear rises, it triggers a series of emotional defenses she can't control, no matter how hard she tries. Let's dive into it. Number 2. Fear of emotional exposure. After guilt flashes across her face, something even deeper begins to rise. Fear. Not fear of you, not fear of the world, fear of being seen. See, most women are not afraid of showing emotions. They're afraid of being truly exposed, because exposure means vulnerability. And vulnerability in the wrong hands, feels like death to the emotional mind. When a woman realizes that you can see past her words, past her performance, past the shields she's spent years perfecting, something primal awakens inside her. It's a desperate need to regain the mask, to close the door before too much escapes. And it manifests in ways most men don't notice. She speeds up her speech, rushing to distract you. She fills silence with noise, laughing, talking, joking. She changes subjects rapidly, moving you away from emotional danger zones. It's frantic, it's automatic, it's survival. But a stoic man, he doesn't chase the noise. He holds the silence. He lets her discomfort rise without rescuing her. Because silence is a weapon, calmness is a mirror. And the longer you stay silent, the longer you stay grounded, the more the cracks widen. Watch closely. Her eyes will dart. Her breathing will quicken. Her body will shift nervously. All signs that her emotional armor is breaking under the pressure of exposure. Most men rush to fill these moments, desperate to ease the tension. But the stoic man knows better. He knows that tension is where truth lives. He knows that calmness forces chaos to reveal itself. And he knows that by holding his frame steady, silent, strong, unshaken, he becomes the mirror she fears most. Because when a woman truly feels seen, she can no longer hide. She can no longer control the image. She can no longer play the game. But exposure doesn't just shake her emotions. It does something even more revealing. It creates contradictions. When a woman feels the pressure of being seen, her words and her actions begin to split. And once you know how to spot that fracture, you'll see her real emotions louder than any words could ever confess. Let's break it down. Number 3, contradictions between words and actions. When fear starts to crack her emotional armor, something deeper and even more obvious begins to happen. Contradiction. Her words move in one direction, but her body, her eyes, her energy, they move in another. See, when emotions are under pressure, it becomes almost impossible for the mind and body to stay synchronized. She might say she's fine. She might tell you everything is perfect. She might smile, laugh, project lightness. But if you're paying attention, truly paying attention, you'll notice the fractures. A tightness around her mouth while she says she's relaxed. A tension in her shoulders while she laughs. A hesitation in her eyes while she tells you she's certain. These are not accidents. These are emotional leakages. Most men never catch them. They listen to words. They get hypnotized by smiles. But the stoic man watches actions, because the body is honest, even when the words are lies. Here's the key. Whenever a woman's words and her behavior contradict, always believe the behavior. The mouth moves to protect ego and image, but the body moves in pure, unfiltered emotion. And when emotion rises, the body speaks louder than any carefully rehearsed script. Watch closely when she says she's not upset, yet her breathing shortens. Watch when she says she's not interested, yet her feet point toward you unconsciously. Watch when she says she's happy for you, yet her smile trembles ever so slightly. Words are for the world. Actions are for the man who sees beyond masks. And a stoic man, calm, grounded, perceptive, never argues with words. He reads the battlefield silently and lets behavior reveal the truth without ever demanding it. If you're seeing the patterns most men ignore, if you're reading the battlefield beneath her words, you're already ahead of 95% of men walking blind. Hit that like button to let the algorithm know we see what others can't. And if you're committed to mastering the unseen layers of human emotion, drop a comment below saying, "I read the truth others miss." Stay locked in, because the deeper signs, the ones she can't hide, even if she tried, are coming next. Number 4. Protective body language. Words may lie, smiles may deceive, but the body? The body always tells the truth. When a woman feels exposed, when her emotional walls are cracking, her body begins to defend itself instinctively. She may not even realize it's happening, but you will, because the Stoic man watches what most ignore. Protective body language is the oldest defense mechanism in the emotional playbook. You'll see it when she crosses her arms tightly across her chest, as if building a shield. You'll see it when she suddenly clutches a purse, a phone, a drink, anything, and holds it like a barrier between you and her heart. You'll see it when her hands unconsciously cover her mouth during conversations, as if her own body is trying to hold back the truth spilling from her lips. These are not conscious acts. They are emotional instincts, primal shields rising in panic. And here's the most important part. Protective body language doesn't happen because you're dangerous. It happens because you're calm, because in your silence, in your unshakable presence, she feels naked. The armor she built with words, with charm, with distraction, it crumbles against the mirror of a man who sees. And when a woman feels truly seen, her emotional self-preservation instincts take over. You'll notice her shifting away subtly when the conversation grows too real. You'll notice her holding herself tighter when silence stretches between you. You'll notice small, nervous movements, adjusting her hair, tugging at jewelry, playing with the edge of her sleeve, each one screaming a truth she cannot voice. I'm uncomfortable. I feel exposed. I don't know how to hide this. And a Stoic man? He doesn't lean in. He doesn't push. He doesn't react. He simply watches, calm, silent, unmoved. Because in that stillness, the truth reveals itself without resistance. But sometimes, the body isn't enough. When the emotional pressure becomes too much, when the feeling of being seen shatters her internal defenses, something even bigger happens. Emotional overreactions, sudden bursts of anger, nervous laughter that won't stop, tears over nothing. When a woman can no longer control the battlefield inside herself, she tries to flood it. Let's break down the emotional storms that happen when calmness forces chaos to the surface. Number 5. Emotional overreactions to calmness. Calmness is power. Calmness is exposure. Calmness is the mirror she fears most. See, most people, men and women alike, are addicted to noise. Noise distracts. Noise protects. Noise hides the truth under layers of sound and movement. But when you hold calmness like a blade, when you refuse to flinch, to fill, to rescue the emotional discomfort rising between you, you trigger a collapse inside her. A collapse that often looks like an explosion. Emotional overreactions are the last defense of a mind that knows it's been seen. When calmness exposes the cracks, the emotional mind tries to flood them. That's why, out of nowhere, a woman who was smiling minutes ago might suddenly lash out. Why she might burst into nervous laughter at nothing. Why her voice might rise, her breathing quicken, her energy spike into a chaotic storm. It's not rational. It's not logical. It's emotional panic. Understand this clearly. When a woman feels truly exposed, when she realizes her emotional masks are crumbling, she doesn't calmly rebuild them. She floods the battlefield with emotion, hoping to confuse, distract, overwhelm, and most men sadly fall into the trap. They react. They defend themselves, they argue, and in doing so, they lose all the silent ground they held. But the Stoic man, he watches the emotional storm like a mountain watches the rain. He does not match her chaos. He does not chase her spirals. He remains calm, centered, immovable, and in that unshakable stillness, he lets the storm exhaust itself. He lets the truth settle back to the surface, because no emotional flood can drown a man who stands above the waters. When you master this level of composure, you no longer fear emotional storms. Number 6. Subtle attempts to regain control. After the emotional storm fades, after the defenses crumble and the truths leak out, a different kind of survival instinct takes over. Not emotional chaos, not raw exposure, but subtle games. See, emotional panic exhausts energy, but ego never sleeps. And when a woman realizes she's lost emotional control, when she senses that you see more of her than she intended, her ego quietly begins to strategize. The goal? To regain power. But it won't happen through confrontation. It will happen through smaller, quieter tactics, little tests, subtle provocations, soft pushes designed to throw you off center. Watch closely. She might tease you, trying to poke at your pride. She might challenge your ideas, pretending to be playful, but fishing for dominance. She might pretend disinterest, pulling back her energy slightly, hoping to bait you into chasing. These are not random behaviors. They are calculated emotional strategies, not always consciously designed, but instinctively executed. She is testing the frame, testing the man, testing if the calmness that exposed her is real, or if it was just another mask. And most men, they fail here. They get drawn into debates. They get lured into chasing validation. They lose composure, trying to win what they had already silently conquered. But the Stoic man, he understands the battlefield is already won. He doesn't chase playful provocations. He doesn't defend himself against small emotional jabs. He doesn't lean into bait. He simply stands, calm, grounded, unshaken, and by doing nothing, he proves everything. The man who does not defend his frame, the man who does not explain, chase, or collapse, is the man who holds true emotional dominance. Remember, power is not in reacting. Power is in not needing to. And when you hold that level of masculine stillness, women feel it. They respect it. They surrender to it, emotionally, silently, completely. Because at the end of the day, mastery over women isn't about words. It isn't about arguments. It isn't even about power games. It's about mastering yourself so fully that the world, including her, bends toward your reality without you lifting a single finger. And if you want to walk that path, stay locked in, because everything changes once you master the unseen battlefield. Most men will never see the world clearly. They will chase words. They will believe smiles. They will fall for performances crafted to hide chaos beneath the surface. But not you, because now you understand the real battlefield isn't what's spoken. It's what's revealed when silence stretches too long. It's what's betrayed by a flash of guilt, a flicker of fear, a contradiction between words and action. It's the protective movements, the emotional storms, the desperate tests, all silent admissions of a truth she cannot voice. You are no longer just a participant in the game. You are the man who sees, and the man who sees leads, not by force, not by control, but by standing calm in a world addicted to noise, by moving with certainty while others scramble in doubt, by mastering yourself so deeply that nothing external can shake your frame. This is what it means to walk the Stoic path, not emotional detachment, emotional dominance, to observe the battlefield with a steady gaze, to read movements others dismiss, to hear confessions not spoken in words, but written across the body, the tone, the energy of those around you. And through that silent perception, you build unshakable power. So the next time you stand across from her, and she smiles too quickly, and her hands fidget with invisible shields, and her energy shifts between attraction and fear. You will not flinch. You will not chase. You will not fall. You will stand still, calm, certain, commanding, and through that stillness, she will reveal everything you need to know, without ever speaking a word. If this message sharpened your vision, hit that like button to let the world know there are still men who walk with perception and power. Drop a comment below. I move in silence. I see without chasing. And if you're ready to master yourself even deeper, subscribe now. Because this journey isn't about becoming louder, it's about becoming unshakable. And in a world full of noise, stillness is the loudest power there is.